that's like 4 years old.
Hey guys, welcome to Feelings with the Geekiary. Oh my gosh, I'm Erin and I'm here along with admin Angel, Jamie, and Fareed. We're fans, we have feelings, and this is where we webcast about them. And I have my champagne right here, and that could only mean one thing. We are talking Schitt's Creek tonight.
Yay! I didn't have champagne, so I have energy drink and rum. Yes.
It's champagne.
Yes. Anyway, I'm here to do the reminder portion of it, that if you want to join this conversation, you can do it with the hashtag Geekiary Feelings, or you can do it right here in our chat, since we do have a live chat room going, because how we know we're wrong if you don't tell us. Of course, we're not wrong about Schitt's Creek. All of our opinions are perfect.
All of our opinions about everything are perfect. They're never wrong, ever.
You can disagree with them, but then you're wrong.
We would like to remind all of you that the views expressed on this webcast are those of the hosts as individuals and do not necessarily represent the Geekiary or the webcast itself as a whole, except probably Schitt's Creek opinions will represent.
Yeah, we're all pretty collective on our opinions for Schitt's Creek.
All right, before we jump into our Schitt's Creek discussion, we do have some business to take care of. So don't forget about our Patreon. It's patreon.com/thegeekiary. We are taking donations ongoing, and give us money. Cool. All right, and also be sure to check out the rest of our YouTube channel. We've been doing these quarantined webcasts every week, except for last week, for like a long time. And of course, Fareed has some amazing content out there. So his reaction videos are just like, yes.
He's our Mr.
I actually have the Schitt's Creek season 6 finale reaction on the channel. If you guys want to check that out, you can watch that. Yeah.
I definitely watched that, and it was like my reactions from when I had watched it were the same as his. So I was like, oh, I feel you. And of course, we have to talk about news of the week. So what was going on this week in the geek world, peeps?
Wow. Okay, first of all, before we get to that, I keep hearing like music playing. Does someone have music going on?
You might be hearing the ice cream man in my neighborhood.
Okay. I hear the ice cream man in your neighborhood. We'll let that go.
I can't really.
Shut up, ice cream man.
That's really funny. I'm sorry.
It's like yeah. If that's what you're hearing, that's the ice cream.
I can't believe an ice cream truck is still operating in the middle of a pandemic in Brooklyn. That's weird. But anyway, we're getting to the news now. Let's first go into this Buynet shit. So Buynet, a few days ago, started a big kerfuffle. They made a tweet and tagged a Buy artist, basically saying that she and anyone else cannot use the Buy flag at all because they had it copyrighted. And they had to license it from them in order to use it for merch or anything like that, which is wrong. The person who created it is quoted saying that there is no copyright, and also you can't copyright a flag because it's just geometric shapes. I mean, I guess you can copyright a flag if it's more than geometric shapes, but that's what the Buy flag is. It's just like,
it's just stripes,
rectangles. Yeah. So you can't really copyright that anyway. And also people have looked up the copyrights, and there are none either under the person who created its name or Buynet. So the copyright doesn't exist. So it's wrong. They deleted their Twitter account for like 2 days and then brought it back with a statement trying to frame it, saying that the reason why they're trying to copyright it is because people are making bisexual colored Confederate flags on Cafe Press, which we searched and there are none. So that's also not correct.
That seems counterproductive.
And like also the person that she originally tagged was definitely not making bisexual Confederate flags. They were just making like bi-colored merchandise for like the community. So they contradicted themselves, and it's just this whole big weird kerfuffle, and she's also the president of Binet is like doxing people on her Twitter account, posting their email addresses and stuff and their full names. It's really weird. But anyway, that's the Binet shit.
That I would be interested to see because if you guys remember my or if you saw my photos from the toy fair, like Gund actually has like a stuffed bear coming out in June that's by flag colors. So I was like, I would love to see them try and go after guns for making that bear.
There was one angle to an argument that did kind of make sense, where big corporations who are making money off of it should give back. That I understand. Like, for example, Target has their Pride stuff, and they donate up to $100,000 each year, depending on merchandise sales, to a certain org. And I'm sorry, I didn't look up which one it is, but it's one of the really common ones, like Trevor Project or something. I don't think that's it, but something, one of the big ones. And I could understand that, like, if you're going to make merchandise with our flags on it, you should give back. But that's not at all how this started, at all the direction that she's taking it, so.
Also, didn't they start this because they wanted money, because they were running out of money?
Yeah, so they haven't filed a certain nonprofit paper form. I can't remember what the form is called, but there's a certain form that if you're a nonprofit and you make more than $50,000, you have to fill out this certain form. And they haven't made that much in many, many years. We don't know how broke they are, but they clearly are not making a lot of money. So it's pretty transparently a money grab.
Yeah, I was like, you should have just started a donation page that, hey guys, we're Binet, we would like you to donate stuff, instead of doing this weird,
Well, and bad. I was in meetings like throughout when all this was going on, so like I just saw snippets from what you guys were saying in the chat. I wasn't able to follow it, and there was like there's some weird stuff that was going on with this.
The president of Binet, she is unique. She thinks like if you go to her Twitter page, you'll see everything I'm about to say. So I'm not just like pulling this out of my ass. She's called teachers fascist because they work for the state that is now making people do teaching from home. So teachers are fascist. She supports mixing bleach with water and drinking it, which she included in a tweet from Binet, which I don't understand, first of all, that at all, and then what it has to do with bisexuality. And then there was some sort of weird Johnny Depp discourse that I don't understand.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole right now.
As the person that mostly runs the Geekiary Twitter, I have accidentally tweeted from the wrong account before, because I have both of them up and I just click which one I'm supposed to tweet, and I've definitely so it could have been something like that, but yeah.
It could have been. It's just really weird because she made it from the Binet Twitter account to someone being like, if you think that Binet, so she did it like as Binet, has only been active since Faith, and she tagged herself in it, has been in charge, you haven't seen, and then she went into the bleach and the Johnny Depp shit, and I'm just like, what the fuck is
okay, yeah, that's a little harder too.
Just some bizarre junk going on that's a tangent to
just a normal week in quarantine. I think everybody's starting to go kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Oh my God, I have all the news today, don't I? Okay, well, there's another bit of news. Unless anyone has anything else to say about this weird Binet shit, we good? Okay.
No.
Baby Yoda, which I'm wearing Baby Yoda today. Baby Yoda news. There is merch news. Despite the fact that we are all on lockdown and don't have a lot of money to spend, Baby Yoda is popping out of the woodwork to take our remaining cash. So there are, I think, 4 new Pop dolls. And then there's also Baby Yoda face mask, which comes in a pack with a bunch of other Star Trek, or not Star Trek. Oh my God, shoot me. Star Wars merchandise.
Star Wars.
God, I'm gonna get kicked out of the sci-fi community now. Star Wars mask. I remind you, I am drinking. And the face masks have been sold out and back ordered now. So if you want them, you can't get them ordered until July, which,
Well, let me follow up with that. those are Disney official license merch sold through Shop Disney. And they do come, so they come in packs of 4 that are like, so you're talking about the Star Wars one that, yes, does have Baby Yoda. They also have other ones that are like Marvel, and even have like the character faces.
Yeah.
Half their character's face and like your eyeballs, which is weird. But you know, Disney, they gotta make that cash. So
I wouldn't be surprised if when the Disney parks open, they're gonna sell those outside and make it so that in order to enter the park, you have to have a face mask. So if you showed up without one, you can spend $20 over here and get a new mask.
$20 at minimum.
Well, they're $19.99 right now for a pack of 4. We'll see how that. Yeah.
So I guess Disney will like open by June.
We don't know yet. We don't know when the Disney parks are going to open. Right now,
so
I wouldn't expect it to be open by June at all. I would not count.
I actually would not be surprised at that. And so Florida has a phased rollout of when they're going to start reopening things, and phase 1 has already started, or is starting, I think, on Monday. And it's starting, y'all. And since it's Florida, you know they're going to do things prematurely. Angel, it's going to be open in June.
They've already reopened a lot of the beaches.
Okay, so maybe the one in Florida, but I feel like California might be a little bit more strict.
Agreed. Yes, and that's just because of the state restrictions. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Florida's dumb. I'm sorry.
I mean, there was that dude that was living on that abandoned island in Bay Lake, and I was like, when I posted the news, I was like, that was not me, by the way, because that seems like I mean, this is the one Florida man guy that's like, yes, I want to be you.
One of our readers, or one of our viewers right now, says that Orange County is going to have a spike in mid-May. I'm not sure if you mean the Orange County in California or Florida, but I would not be surprised either way because of all the protests that are happening right now. Like, I saw pictures from Huntington Beach yesterday where there was like hundreds of people all crammed together, most of which didn't have masks. And then in Florida, like, things are opening back up, the beaches are packed. So whatever Orange County you're referring to, she meant California. But honestly, either way,
well,
there's going to be spikes all over.
Orange County is part of Orlando also. So they're both.
Whichever one next.
Yes, agree. Oh, and I have another news story, apparently. Anyone else have anything on that? All the news is me, apparently. There's the AMC, and I guess Regal has joined them now, and Universal Studios kerfuffle, where Universal...
The word of the day is kerfuffle. I'm sorry.
I really like that word.
I don't mean it.
I mean, that's the word Moira would use.
Yes.
She'd be like, it's
true.
Okay, sorry, go on.
But Universal released their Trolls movie to VOD, which at first the movie theaters were okay with because everything was shut down. So, they needed to release the film. But then one of the Universal executives said that they want to try to do this when the theaters are open and release it both on VOD and in theaters. And then AMC flipped their shit and wrote this like really long, like personal letter that started like, "Dear Donna," and like went into this big long spiel that was way too personal for like a corporate letter. It was insane. And basically because there's a window where you have it exclusive in theaters and then you release it elsewhere. And they're violating the window by wanting to release them both at the same time. But like, it's hard to feel bad for either of them because they're both like multi-billion-dollar corporations that are like, movie theaters are expensive as hell. like $10 for a small bag of popcorn. And then also movie studios, like while they do bring us the entertainment, by doing this, they're also screwing over small theaters, like small hometown theaters. So like neither of them are really the good guy in this situation. Like it just sucks all around, and the people that are going to get screwed are the small theaters. So
I mean,
That's
I can
that.
see where the studios are coming from, because when you release a movie in theaters, the studio only gets 50% of the total gross.
Mhm.
The rest goes to the theaters, and that's only on a national level. If a film is being shown internationally, then the studio only gets like 20 or 25% of the worldwide gross.
Yeah.
So I see the studios wanting to release a movie on digital, because on digital, a studio normally gets like almost all of the money from VOD. So I can see Universal wanting to continue with this.
Yeah, I mean, in general, my knee-jerk reaction is yes, let's do this always. And I felt that way for many years, back when there was the movie The Interview, you know, the really controversial one about like killing the North Korean leader, or who may or may not be dead actually now, who knows? Schrodinger's dictator. But anyway, way back then when that was released, because the theaters didn't want to play a controversial film, they released it on VOD, and I rented it on YouTube and watched it, and I loved the movie was weird, but I loved being able to do that and like sit in the comfort of my own home and watch a brand new film. So, but like I just feel bad for the small businesses that are already like suffering right now because no one can go to a theater. So like a theater that already had a really small razor thin margin is gonna like get trampled in this, but is what it is.
I mean, also VOD can also kind of get rid of the excuse that studios have that they can't have queer narratives in big blockbusters because they get banned in international theaters.
Yes, like Netflix. Netflix gets around that, and Netflix is one of the queerest producers out there. Like, they have all sorts of LGBT content because they don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a weird. And also, I was reading this article that people who aren't always able to go to the theaters because of some disability or something, those people have to wait months for a new movie to come to digital so that they can see it. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I have a friend who was a caregiver for an elderly person who unfortunately has since passed away, but for like a good decade or so, she couldn't go out to theaters and she had to wait months for them to become available because she couldn't like leave her mom. Like she had to care for her, but yeah.
I also personally have like extreme movie theater anxiety. I got sick one time during a movie when I was in high school, which was apparently extremely traumatic for me. So like, I gotta really be in the zone if I go to the theater. So when these movies started coming out, like on Prime and stuff, I was all over that. That's like my dream come true.
Yeah, honestly, I hope that we do shift in that direction. In general, I just have a soft spot for small business. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I like going to the movies, but it's really expensive to go to the movies in New York. Even if you're not getting concessions, like a ticket is $16. That's like
it's about the same out here. Yeah.
And also, theaters aren't necessarily the most hygienic places. So even if they open, are people really willing to go to theaters so soon in July or August?
I went and saw a movie in February when all this was really starting to kick off, and I like brought sanitization and like wipes and like wiped down the entire seat. But like the movie I was seeing, it was the Boku no Hero Academia film, and like it was only in theaters, so I had to go or I would miss out on it. So I'm like, but that was horrifying, and the last big outing that I did really before shit hit the fan. So
the last outing I had was going to a movie. Weird. Oh man, it's very odd. All right, what else we got going on for news?
Okay. The next one is mine. This is actually from last week, but since we didn't have a webcast last week, Avatar: The Last Airbender is finally coming to Netflix, and in 2 weeks, May 15th. And I really feel like I caused it because like a month ago, I tweeted that I was like, some streaming site needs to bring needs to get Avatar: The Last Airbender, and now it's coming to Netflix. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, it makes sense because Netflix is working on a live action Avatar as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, excited.
Hopefully they get Korra next, because I never finished Korra. So.
Oh, Korra was very good. Way too serious, very dark, awesome. And also, there is some kind of disagreement that some fans don't want Netflix to do a live action adaptation of the 4 previous books. They want them to adapt the comic books because we already have the animated show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So why do it in live action? Why retell the same story? Which
Well,
is probably
do we know?
not as good as the animated show anyway.
Well, it's the same team behind it. So hopefully that it would be as good. But yeah, no, I agree that it's like there's so many like reboots and remakes. It's like there's not new, but there's the material in the comics that hasn't been done yet. So do that, yeah. Also,
let's
it
see
like goes deeper, more Zuko stuff, yeah.
We get an entire story about Zuko and his mom, and I would rather see that being animated or in live action instead of retelling the same story we have binge watched like numerous times already.
Yeah, especially when they're bringing the original to Netflix, like.
Yeah. So I'm up next. Netflix released the half of it. It's a new movie. It was released on May 1st. And it's a queer movie with an Asian lead. And the director is a queer Asian woman who also wrote the screenplay. So check it out. It's a coming of age story. So all of you wanting more Asian queer representation on screen, go check it out. And again, as Stephanie said, Netflix has a whole lot of queer stuff on it. You might have to search for it, but there's a whole lot there. And also there's a whole lot of problematic queer stuff, but yeah, you have to search for it.
I'm going to jump on this too, because I just got done watching the new series on Netflix, Never Have I Ever, which is Mindy Kaling's new series. And I thought it was pretty good. It's also a coming of age story. But it's got a super diverse cast and is very like talky, like Mindy Kaling's shows are, and handles it's mostly like surrounding the subject of sex, but also like relationships with your family and relationships with friends, and it's pretty good. So
yeah, there's good stuff to watch on Netflix. Go.
Mm-hmm.
And also talking about not so good stuff, Ryan Murphy's Hollywood debuted on May 1st as well. And considering it's Ryan Murphy, there was a 50% chance it was going to be a mess, and it was.
I would say it's more like 85%.
Yeah, I was going to say 50% is too generous. Like.
Yeah.
I was trying to be kind because he gave us American Horror Story and other stuff. But yeah. Also on Rotten Tomatoes, you can go and check the rating. It's bad, and you can kind of tell why the rating is so low. Like after watching the first 5 to 6 minutes of the first episode, I'm working on a review for it, and I'm trying to be not as harsh as I usually am.
That's kind. Is it the fun kind of bad where like you can do a drinking game and take shots, or is it so bad?
No, it's bad. It's bad. It's like a fantasy retelling of how Hollywood could have been back in the day, and it kind of casually goes over racism and sexism and all of that stuff without really addressing it.
That sucks.
Yeah, especially when we have the Me Too era with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like, this show should have addressed all of that stuff, but it kind of glosses over it. And yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I'm working on a review, and it's bad. You should go watch Feud. Feud was much better. Anyone watched Feud?
I haven't.
Yeah, Feud was much better than this. And also, Love, Victor got a teaser released. Anyone watch it?
Mm-mm.
No. What are you guys doing?
I know. I saw it, but I just didn't watch it.
Cleaning.
So.
But yeah, also, if you guys don't know, Love Victor had this weird drama surrounding it because it was first supposed to air on Disney Plus, but then it moved to Hulu because Disney was like, it's too mature. The themes are like, it doesn't fit the Disney Plus brand. And people were like saying that no, Disney only did this because it doesn't want any queer content. Obviously, queer content on the Disney Plus streaming service. But I watched the teaser and I'm on Disney's side, you all. Like the teaser had so much sexual innuendo in it. I was like, yeah, this can't be on Disney Plus. It was bad. So,
Disney Plus has been weird. Like they digitally altered the hair in Splash to like cover the mermaid's butt. Like it's so weird. But anyway,
yeah.
I know they edited parts out of like The Simpsons and stuff.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah, I mean,
Also,
I think there is a distinction between overtly sexual and like having queer content, obviously. And I can understand Disney not wanting like too much overt sex, especially right now when so many kids have access to Disney Plus and may not have like that parental supervision. Yeah. So I can definitely see that. Yeah.
And I mean, it's not that Disney Plus doesn't have queer content. The new High School Musical, the series.
I can't believe that's actually the name of it.
Has a queer character in it, and he's obviously queer, and they had this entire queer prom team going on in one of the episodes. So it's not like Disney Plus doesn't have queer stuff on it. It's just that Love Victor is kind of, it's more than I would say PG, even if it's only sexual innuendo.
They have the Winter Soldier, which is super queer. I'm just gonna say.
Not enough to actually. Like...
I know. I'm sorry. I just started us on a bad tangent. I'm sorry.
All right. Are we done with news so we can get to the main event here? Okay.
Creek.
All right. Schitt's Creek. It is time. This is the first time that we have like actually talked about Schitt's Creek in a discussion sort of way, because it finally, like, the series just ended a couple of weeks ago, or 4 weeks, I don't know when it was, very recently. And so all four of us have watched the entire series, including the finale. So I do want to note that our discussion will probably include spoilers for the entire series, including the series finale, just because a lot happened in those last couple episodes that really do require some commentary. So let's get to it. I'm gonna just start really quick because I want to say how I got into Schitt's Creek and when, because I feel like I was one of the first people that watched it. I say that a lot about a lot of things, but in this case, I actually mean it. So I was actually thinking about this last night. I started watching it in the spring of 2017, right after season 2 aired. And I was sick at home. And so I had like a couple days where I wasn't at work and was just like, I got to watch some TV. And I discovered Schitt's Creek and I was like, what is this? And I saw that Eugene Levy was part of it. So I was like, okay, it'll be funny. And it immediately sucked me in. I always say, like, the one line that really got me was in the second episode, season 1, episode 2, where David goes, "My best to Bob Cratchit," because his dad's wearing the nightshirt. That is what got me, because I was like, okay, this is a smart series. It's intelligent. Like, it's funny, but you can tell that there is intelligence behind it. And so yeah, that's a long time. And I've been trying to get everybody to watch it since then. And it got better. Like, the show just got better and better. It didn't, like, season 2 was arguably like the weakest season, in my opinion. And so I'm glad I stuck with it and told everybody I know about it. So
you got me into it. You're the reason, especially because you keep posting GIFs in our chat. And like, I was deeply curious about all these GIFs, like an insane amount of GIFs. Everything we'd say, you can respond with a Schitt's Creek GIF. And then
it
this
is the most
quarantine happened.
typical show ever.
And so then this quarantine happened where half my job is being on the phone, so I can't do anything when I'm doing that. I have to like be in a quiet place. But then the other half of my job, I'm just sitting here at my computer typing for like 4 hours a day. And so I can set up my phone and watch movies and stuff. And so I decided, well, I'm stuck at home. You know, I don't have coworkers around, and Aaron keeps posting these GIFs. So I might as well try it. And then I just started binging through it. And I think I got through all the seasons in like 2.5 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks. So thank you.
They actually won a Streamy Award for the best use of GIFs recently.
They're
Sure.
good.
Really
They're very
is.
good.
I mean, you can.
There's a gift for everything.
I am living proof that you really can respond to any of life's situations with a Schitt's Creek GIF. Probably just with David, but really with anybody.
I tweeted Bynut with "eat glass."
Yes, I use that one a lot.
So this would be an interesting battle because it's a thing on Tumblr that there's a supernatural GIF for every occasion.
No.
So that would be an interesting battle.
Schitt's Creek would win.
There's not. We all know that there's not. It's
No
not.
contest. No contest.
There's a lot though. Like I know.
I mean, they have like 15 million seasons, so
Yeah.
obviously there's gonna be a GIF for everything. But
Yeah,
as
it's just
far as like
Well-
humor GIFs, there's no contest.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes.
keep it till the first 6 seasons of Supernatural. Then we'll talk.
Well, this was
Um,
it's been a thing for a while on Tumblr. So
I haven't logged into Tumblr since like 2015, and I haven't watched Supernatural since like 2016. So
I'm on
way out of the loop
Tumblr
on all of
every
that.
day. So. And actually, Tumblr is how I get into most stuff. So Tumblr is how I got into Schitt's Creek because
Oh,
after
not Aaron. Wasn't Aaron. Interesting.
well, like maybe like partially because it always helps. Because my thing is that like if I see something on Tumblr a lot, I get interested, and I'm always like, okay, what's this about? That's how I got into Teen Wolf. That's how I got into a bunch of stuff. But if I have a person that vouches for it, that moves it up my list. So I was like, I'm sure Aaron was instrumental in moving it up, but it was after season 4 for me because I kept seeing GIFs of David and Patrick date. And no, that was season 3. I'm sorry, because they were dating in season 4. So it was after season 3, their date. And I was like, okay, fine. Because also, it's like, fine, I'll watch it. But also because I recognized Patrick. Because Patrick was in this Canadian show like 15 years ago that I watched that was called Strange Days at Blake Holsey High, where the school was like haunted or something.
That sounds so familiar.
He's
That's
been in a
weird.
lot of stuff. Like he's pretty peak Canadian actor.
Well,
In
because
Canada.
I watched Strange Days because of another Canadian actor. So yeah.
Canadian productions be using the same actors.
It's like no, that's why I said I was like, if you want to be an actor, you need to be in Canada or on the CW because then you'll have like 80 million jobs.
And Canadians do, I've said this a lot, but like Canadians do the best sci-fi and fantasy TV. So they're, once you start watching Canadian genre shows, you see them like the same actors and the same showrunners and behind the scenes crew and everything. You see them just over and over again, but they're really good at it. So I love it.
I got into this show, I think because of Aaron as well, around season 2, after season 2 had aired. And then, because I think after season 2 that a whole lot of queer outlets ended up covering it. with how the show has been handling pansexuality and how it handles the character of David. And I was like, you know what? I should check it out, but I didn't. I ended up checking it out after I think season 3 had aired in its entirety. So I was like, you know what? I'll just binge watch the first 3 seasons. And yeah, I was sucked in. I couldn't stop. I was like, this is the best show I have seen.
Well, and that's
So
the thing. Like, it's one of the few shows, honestly, that I recommend to everyone. It's, you know, normally I watch a lot of TV, and so when I give recommendations, I try to tailor it to, you know, the person that I'm recommending it to. But I've recommended Schitt's Creek to the most conservative Republican people ever, and they love it. And I've recommended it to old people, and they love it. I've recommended it to like high school kids, and they love it. And it's just one of those like universal, positive, feel-good shows that also puts queer content right in the living rooms of people that have never really been exposed to it or experienced it. And everyone just loves David. He's a drama queen, but you know, that has nothing to do with his pansexuality. That's just his personality. And everybody is rooting for David and Patrick. Like, it's just one of those shows that is just, at least in my experience, is universally liked by everyone.
And also, I think it's because it's a queer show without being a queer show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not promoted as this queer show that everyone should watch. It's just a show with one of the leads being a queer character. And yeah, I mean, that's how you should be writing queer characters.
Yeah, and like I think one of the things that makes it so universal and makes it so that so many different people like it is that there's nobody in the show that is like explicitly a bad human. Like, I mean, the mayor has pretty bad moments, but like
that's just Chris Elliott though.
Yeah. He's not like evil, he's just, you know, but like these are just imperfect people, like, navigating through life. That's kind of weird. And, like, no one's perfect. Everyone has flaws, but no one is explicitly bad to one another. And, like, relating to queer content, like, you have the moment where Patrick hasn't come out to his parents, for example, and you think, oh, shit, here's the homophobia storyline. His parents are going to hate it. No, his parents were upset that he didn't want to tell them. And like, so it goes a completely different way. That's not like, oh, drama, sadness, bad parents. It's just a family moment. Like, yeah, it's refreshing.
That's one of the only episodes that made me cry.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
That's one of the. I was like, there was that one, and then there were several in the 6th season that made me cry.
Mm-hmm.
That I can remember. It's been a while since I've seen the first 3 seasons.
Well, and that's another thing too, is like all of the relationships are so genuine. And so even though you have, so I'm going back to in season 1 when Stevie and David have their little fling, and then David wants to, or invites her to go back to New York with him, and she kind of has that impression that she's asking her to move in with him in like maybe a romantic sort of way, and he's like, no, we're, you know, separate bedrooms, whatever. Stevie gets upset, David runs away. Normally you would see that as kind of a one-sided sort of reaction, like you would just see Stevie getting upset, but you wouldn't see David getting upset. In this case, you see that Stevie gets upset, but David gets just as upset, and he has to like run away. And for me, like, that was really eye-opening, because you don't see relationships really play out that way much on screen. You usually only see one side, or you're rooting for one person over the other, like you take sides. But in this case, like, I didn't take sides. I thought, I mean, it was truly a misunderstanding of where they were in their relationship, and I felt bad for both of them. Having him react was very different from the usual narrative. Like, he was not the bad guy. He just misunderstood
like their situation, but he still cared about her a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he just didn't want to be in an exclusive relationship with her. But there's clearly love between them. It just ends up being a different kind of love than romantic. And I love their relationship. Like, even when they had their fling, I liked that, even though it led to this misunderstanding. It's just because it displays kind of a different level of love, like between these two characters. And yeah, I don't know. It's just really interesting, their friendship. And yeah, that's one of the best examples of it for sure.
Now we're all just like, oh. I also feel that way a little bit about Alexis and Ted. That's another relationship that I didn't like it at first, and then I really loved it, and then I didn't like it, and then I really loved it, and I kind of thought that the writing was spot on for their relationship. One of my favorite, I'm sorry, but this is going to be a lot of me going back to like my favorite scenes and favorite lines. But in season 1, oh my God, the moment that I fell in love with Ted was in season 1 when Ted and Alexis go out to breakfast, and Alexis is on her fast, and Ted orders like toast and got home fries. And Alexis is like, Twyla, Ted ordered toast, not home fries, and he got home fries. So can you like fix that? And Ted's like, no, it's okay. I'm good with home fries. You know, I'll just eat them. It's fine. And so that whole scene plays out. And then Alexis is sitting there like eating her like parsley or whatever. She's like, you're being very rude. And Ted's like, sorry for yelling.
Here's the interesting thing about me interpreting Alexis and Ted. So I went into this when it was there was like 2 episodes left, and then by the time I got to the end, they already had like promotional images from the finale out, and I saw Alexis in the wedding dress, and I assumed, oh, her and Ted must get married. And so for the entire last season, when they were like apart and slowly starting to break up, and you could see that coming, I'm like, how are they going to fix this? Because Alexis in a wedding dress, what's going to happen? And then when the reveal happens in the final episode, where it's just the dress she chose to wear to David's wedding, I'm like, oh my God, like I've been waiting this whole season for them to like fix their relationship.
It's not a wedding dress, it's a white floor-length gown.
With a veil.
With a headdress.
With a headdress.
Like I had to pause the final episode and just like bust out laughing, like, oh my God. Because I was like, how are they going to fix this in 2 episodes? How are they going to fix this in 1 episode? What's going to happen? And then it's just.
But that's another example of like, normally those two would just end up together in a regular show. Mm-hmm. They're not a good match, but they get along. There's a lot of love. And so that scene that I was alluding to in the cafe is a perfect example of their relationship in a nutshell, where Alexis is like, stop being so rude. And Ted's like, sorry for yelling. But he wasn't yelling because that's just Ted. He's like just super Canadian, and that's the way he is. And, but like they both, I mean, that's just their dynamic. And it never strayed. Like the whole time, yes, they were pining after each other and stuff, and they have a lot of love. But in the end, I'm glad they didn't end up together because neither of them would have been happy.
Yeah.
So, but I still love them, and I still loved seeing them together. And in season 4, when Alexis was pining over getting back with Ted, I was like, man, I want them to get back together. And at the same time, I was like, but they're so wrong for each other, you know.
The thing is like when Ted like is in the Galapagos, to me that's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I would totally like drop my life and go out to live in the Galapagos, but that's not Alexis. Like she needs a big city, she needs lots of people, she needs, you know, society and social atmosphere, and like that's just who they are. It doesn't make either of them bad people. Like they're not bad, they just need different things out of life.
Maybe down the line in 10 to 15 years, they might get together. Who knows? It can happen.
It'll be like Veronica Mars before the last season, where it's like they're separated and then suddenly there's a reunion movie later on and they get back together.
And then he dies.
And then he dies.
Oh God, I haven't watched that last season. I was in the room at San Diego Comic-Con when they said that the season dropped, and by the time I had left the panel room, everyone was like, "That season sucked," and I'm like, "What happened?" Like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, I forget where I was, but I was checking Twitter because I would have been at San Diego too, and I'm like, oh crap, and I read like some of my friends' tweets, and I was like, oh man, like already deciding to not watch it before I even have a chance to watch it.
So let's hope it's not like Veronica Mars.
So,
well, the movie was fine. Just don't do another season after the movie, and then you won't have to do it.
okay, I'm bringing us back to Schitt's Creek because I want to talk about Schitt's Creek like forever. Sorry. And I didn't really know, like, Fareed, you put a bunch of questions in here for like to help guide conversation, but I'm not like really looking at it at all because I want to talk more about like relationships, because to me, like, that's what makes this show so great. So I want to talk about the relationship between Stevie and both Johnny and Moira, because they each have a really great relationship with Stevie and very parental in both ways. As much as Moira, you can't really call her parental or maternal really in any way. She really, especially at the end of season 5, takes Stevie under her wing. And to me, like, that was the first time that I legit like sobbed, was that season 5 finale, Life is a Cabaret, when Moira gives that talk to Stevie before the show happens. I was just like, oh my God, this is the kind of parental validation that Stevie always wanted and needed. And it also showed us like that much needed softer side of Moira that we saw too. And so were there any like specific things about those relationships that stand out to you?
The thing that got me specifically was Stevie and Johnny, because Stevie gets kind of thrust into this world of being a businesswoman, and she doesn't really know how to handle it. And that's Johnny's whole thing, is business. And so, like, even though she doesn't really know what she's doing and kind of questions herself, he like guides her, but doesn't treat her like she's incapable. He genuinely wants her to succeed and learn how to do this. And like, I think that that's a really interesting relationship, that she, you know, she might not know what she's doing. She might not have experience with this or have sought this out, but now she's here and he's like helping her specifically succeed. And I just love that whole arc, like seeing her step into being a business owner. Like,
well, and great. I think that goes back to the very parental side of Johnny too, because that's the kind of support that you should get from a parent, not necessarily a business partner. So yeah. I like that.
I love that she actually read his book. Like, he gave out the book, and it comes across as like very self-serving. It's like, here's this book that I wrote, and do you really want to read a book about business by a guy that like went bankrupt? But that she actually reads it and uses stuff from it later to help out. So I enjoyed that.
I mean, I actually liked how the show ended up focusing more on Johnny and Stevie, because even though I fan of the rest of the characters, I was never that into Stevie interacting with David or Alexis or other characters. But whenever Stevie was interacting with Moira, especially during that cabaret episode, and then whenever she was interacting with Johnny, that was a dynamic I was really into.
Yeah.
Yes, Stevie with the older people, with the parental figure in their life.
It's just really interesting. I mean, besides David, I think she's my favorite character. Because, I mean, of course, David's my favorite character.
Oh, one of the people said Team Mutt. So
yeah, Mutt kind of disappeared after he came back for like an episode.
He was busy with Winona Earp. Duh. No. I mean, that's real, but also not show related.
It would have been weird if they ended up hooking up Alexis with Mutt in the end. For
She ends
some
up taking
reason.
the weird barn guy to New York. Like, what? That would be weird.
I feel like on other shows that would have been how they ended it. It's like, oh
Yeah.
hey, here's this like my old flame has come back, and okay.
But no, she's off to be a businesswoman too, her own independent self without a partner, starting her own business and going back to New York, like where she feels at home. Like,
You
she
know
got
what
her
I
own-
didn't like in the finale? One thing that I didn't like, where everything ended up coming together for every character, but the way they ended up handling Twyla, I was like, she won a lottery. I was like, what the heck?
That was very random. I'm like,
That is so poorly written. Like, why would you do that?
That's like Roseanne level stuff. It's like, oh hey, I won the lottery. No.
I mean, I like that because Twyla, she had big dreams, but she never she knew that she was never going to get out of Schitt's Creek, and the cafe was her life. So I actually really liked that she ended up buying the cafe. I mean, obviously the lottery thing is a little weird, but I mean, they had to put something in so that she had like this money. But
I mean, honestly, like it is a little weird, but I think that they put that in there so that they could give that scene where she offers the money to Alexis and Alexis turns it down. Like, so.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah, it was weird.
I'm just like, because Alexis is like, oh, use some of that money to come visit me. Maybe she'll visit Alexis in New York and decide she wants to stay in the reunion
open
movie
cafe
later.
in New York, maybe. Make multiple cafes, franchise.
She can open the cafe
in New York.
in the Rosebud Motel.
There you go.
Yeah,
Very
it was
smart
weird. The lottery
thinking.
was weird. It felt like it was something because the writers did because they didn't know how to like give a conclusion to her character. Like maybe if Mutt came back for her, then
Twyla, the actress, is Eugene Levy's daughter, right? And David is his son. Yeah, that's interesting.
and also did she win the lottery during the first season, or
It was before
was she
that.
already the owner of the cafe?
No, she buys the cafe at the end.
Yeah.
She just works in the cafe because she likes making
She
people
likes
smile.
So
But
she
I'm-
won the lottery. She won the lottery in season 6.
No. She had
won
won the lottery. Yeah. But it did make it sound like that she had won it either right before or around when they first got there, because she said
Yeah.
she didn't want to tell them when they were having such money issues. So I feel like if they had planted a seed, like, oh, show her buying a lottery ticket or something, and then later you could be like, hey, I won the lottery. I don't think they had that planned 6 years ago, but
Yeah, they didn't. That's why it felt so random. It was like, oh, Twyla bought the lottery. She bought stuff for her mom, who wasted all of the money. And okay,
totally believable though that you would waste all the money, because I would.
But yeah,
one of the weird relationship dynamics, obviously, that I would like to explore is between Johnny and Roland. Now, I understand that Roland is a weird character, and but have you ever seen Chris Elliott play like a not hateable character? No, that's what he does best, and so it's fine. But I do have some thoughts about their relationship. So I'll let everybody else go first.
Well, I think Roland is the only character that gets close to being not a good person. I mean, I still think that he has some redeemable qualities, but like when I talk about how there's nobody in the show that's absolutely evil, he's the one that gets the closest, but he's still not there. So I feel like he is always antagonistic, and I don't understand. I don't know. I guess because he's the mayor, like people have to be nice to him. I don't know. I don't know. He's the only character that I'm not super enthused about.
I mean,
That's fair.
frankly, if two characters had this so much screen time during the course of 6 seasons, I would be shipping them. But not Johnny and
No.
Roland. I'm like, Roland,
Oh,
no.
I bet there's a stick out there somewhere. It's just how things work.
I think it's an interesting contrast because I grew up in a small town, and so I know that Roland is very much important person in a small town. That's how he acts. Like you're the biggest person around, that goes to your head, and then you have like Johnny comes in, and he was actually like an important person on a larger scale, and so it's interesting to see how they both behave having been like this important person.
Yeah, like that power dynamic. Yeah.
But like I said, the power dynamic, the interest, that's shipping material right there.
Yeah.
But yet not. Because I mean, I really, first of all, I think that Jocelyn married down when she married Roland. Because I actually really like Jocelyn. But Roland, I mean, I don't hate him. He's fine. I think a lot of it was acting choice. Because if you actually go back and like listen to the words, he's not like that over the top. It's all in the delivery. And so for me, like, I don't know. He's okay. I don't hate him. I don't like him. He's fine.
Hashtag justice for Jocelyn.
He's small town. Like that's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
no boundaries. Like that's small town. That's
But what
how it
did
is.
Jocelyn see in him?
Well, you also have to look. We don't know that many adult male characters from Schitt's Creek, but of the ones that we do know, who would you pick? I mean, honestly, like you have Bob
or Roland.
Brooklyn, and Patrick lived in his house. What was his name?
Oh, yeah,
Ray.
the photographer.
Ray, yeah.
Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like it. Like you don't meet
It's a
any
very
other
small
adult men.
dating pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
true.
we only see him now. They've been married a really long time. Like, who knows what he was like when he was younger? So,
Well, he
I
was
mean, he would have
obviously
still
the
been Chris
ladies'
Elliott,
man
but
because he was into that unemployment ladies, whatever. Like, I could totally see him being like, you know,
I think
like
his aloofness when young might have attracted young women, who knows, when they were young, like, look at him, he's so carefree, he doesn't care about hygiene. Well, that's because he doesn't. He really doesn't.
Okay, we can stop talking about Roland now.
God.
Now I will get back into some of these questions, Fareed. What character do you wish was used more in the series? I'll go first because I have an answer.
Go for it.
I love Ronnie. Love Ronnie.
Same
Obviously,
answer.
I mean, Ronnie is one of those people that you like. She has that personality that you know somebody in real life who's like that. Who's always just like, whatever, or like, I don't want to be here, or like super negative, but not really like a bring you down negative. Just like wants no drama, wants no shit, just wants to like do her thing. And but you also see a tremendous growth in her throughout the series, because by the end, you know, she's like, I'm gonna miss you guys. And you know, she plays a very integral role in the series, even as a supporting character. And I really would have liked to see her more, because she has the actress has amazing comedic timing, and I'm glad that she was there, but I would have liked to see her used more.
She has also won a whole lot of awards. I'm looking at her wiki page. So
also she was also queer, so that would have fleshed that.
That's
She's what?
true.
Mhm.
She was also queer.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was waiting for. I wanted her to interact more with David or like do something about it. Like show us Ronnie out on a date. Like how does she act when she's out on a date?
I disliked that she hated Patrick.
I absolutely loved the scene where Moira assumes that it's going to be like a group of lesbians that she's like introducing herself to, but it ends up being small business people. But she just uses the same speech, like I don't know. Yeah,
but then at the end, you learn that Ronnie is a lesbian, and you're like, oh well, cool.
That was so nonchalant about how they did that too. She just like pointed. She's like, "Oh, like I'm going, yeah." Out. Yeah. I don't know if it was like the specific character, and I can't remember her name, even though I just watched it. But it was the receptionist that Ted got after Alexis left, that he had like went on the couple dates with or whatever. And there was that whole episode where he was telling Alexis one thing, and then she told Alexis something else. I not so much would have liked to have seen more of her specifically, but I really would have liked to have seen Alexis have like more friends, because she really only had like Twyla and then David. So I really would, and we saw, I mean, there's very few men in Schitt's Creek apparently, but there's a lot of ladies, and they didn't get, they're in there with Moira in her singing group, but a lot of them didn't even have names. It's like maybe like have some of them coming around and give them a name. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that Alexis can make friends. Like she's too much. She's a specific kind of person. Not everyone can be friends with her.
What I found super interesting though is that when they brought back her old set of friends, like to contrast with who she's become, like I think that's really interesting. And her not having a lot of close relationships, but just having a few really good relationships, kind of shows her growth. Like she's more independent. She doesn't need all these fake friends like that she used to have in New York, because when they come, they're clearly not the same anymore. So, I mean, yeah, she could have had more friends. I think that's a good criticism, but at the same time, like, I think that it's an interesting contrast, the quality versus quantity, I guess.
See, and I feel that with Alexis on a very deep level. I joked with you guys in the editor chat the other night that you guys are my only friends, because I really don't have that many close friends. And so whenever something's happening, I'm like, editor chat, I gotta tell them what's happening in my life. And I feel that with Alexis too.
Yeah.
Like you can talk with anybody, and like you're friends with everybody, your coworkers and your neighbors and stuff, but you don't have those deep connections really with too many people. And so I actually think that the way that all of Alexis's relationships were handled were actually pretty accurate, just because I am also that way. So I can say, yes, it was accurate. And I would have liked to see her have more friends too. But I don't think that's her personality.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Let's see. We talked about, I think we're all, what's a character you just couldn't get yourself into or be a fan of?
Roland.
Roland. Yeah.
Roland.
Yeah.
I actually also don't really like Bob, which I don't really know why. He just rubs me wrong. Like, I know he does like that bounce thing where he bounces like into the scene. The Bob bounce is what they call it on Twitter. And that's really funny to me, but like I didn't find him funny or like anything.
Or even sympathetic. When his wife left him, I felt nothing. I was like, okay, I guess.
He was really rude to Johnny when Johnny was using his garage as the office space. And so that rubbed me the wrong way. Like, why didn't you just help out these customers that came here and I wasn't here, but you know nothing about cars? And I was just like, Bob, really? Really, dude? Come on.
He also like struck me as like judgmental in a way that like wasn't, because I mean the roses to some extent are also judgmental, but I think they're open about that. So I was like, and also this comes from growing up in a small town. That's how we are. Like, we're going to pretend we're not judgmental, but we are, especially to like outsiders. So like they came in and they like, you know, they're rich, they're from the city, blah blah blah, and it's like, well, you don't know what it's like in a small town.
All right. So yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any other? I think Bob is like, okay, because I'm
already railed against Roland. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about. I'm really interested to hear everybody's take on David being pansexual, because I want to know what you guys think about how it was handled, and his subsequent relationships, because I do feel like a lot of people who are not queer themselves or involved in the community really had any prior experience with pansexuality before this. And so I'm interested to hear your thoughts on what you thought or how you thought it was handled, or what you thought might have been right or wrong, or just, you know, whatever.
Yeah, so that was my identifier, like pansexual, for the longest time. Now I'm really like more ace, but like for the longest time that was what I claimed. So seeing it mentioned in a mainstream show that wasn't explicitly about like the queer community was really huge. And like the way he explained it with the wine, like red wine and white wine and rosés and blah blah blah, like I've seen similar explanations with like cupcakes and like cookies and ice cream and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a really good way to frame it because it's relatable to like people who don't really understand it. Like, so I thought when I got to that part, like I jumped into the chat and I'm like, is he pansexual? Like, oh my God, like I was freaking out. So I appreciated it. And I think it was depicted well. And explained well, and kind of introduced it to a mainstream audience that wouldn't get it anywhere else.
I think they could have done a bit more over the course of the 6 seasons, because the wine explanation was back in season 2.
One,
yeah.
Yep.
Back in season 1, and after that, we got to see David in relationships with other men. We got to see one of his exes come back.
Yep.
And I mean, for people who don't necessarily understand pansexuality or bisexuality, I would have liked them to show him interacting with an ex-girlfriend, or maybe flirt with more women around town, because that could have like helped define pansexuality better. Because I do think that for a whole lot of people, David isn't necessarily a pansexual character. He's more of a gay character. For people really, who don't necessarily know about spectrums.
That could be because Daniel Levy is gay. He's not bi or pan in real life. So that could have just been his own experiences coming through in the writing. So I agree with that. But I also, the one criticism that I have in his explanation of being pansexual is his offhand comment about be like a rosé. Like, I once dated a red who became a white, and that was very messy. And that was kind of the one comment in the whole series that was a little bit negative about, you know, being transgender. And I think that could have been handled a little bit better, because that goes back to what you're saying, Fareed, is like you only see him, besides his fling with Stevie, you only see his interactions, his romantic interactions with men. And it would have been, I think, a little bit truer maybe, I mean, I'm not pan, so I can't really speak for that, but I think it would have been truer as a viewer if you had seen more of his pansexuality played out in maybe a more realistic way, rather than just he had sex with Stevie a couple times and then was only with men, but also may have a little bit of judgment about trans.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, because we know that David as a character who is someone who hooked up a lot with other people in his previous life. So why not introduce an ex-trans girlfriend or boyfriend, or why not introduce someone who is an ex but who also identifies as non-binary? Like they had 6 seasons, they could have introduced a whole lot of people. So it to me, it felt like they mentioned this one thing like back in season 1, and after that, it just kind of disappeared. Or it kind of wasn't mentioned again. Because if a person started watching this show by season 5 or 6 or 4, they wouldn't know that David is pansexual. I don't think it was ever mentioned again.
There was his conversation with Stevie, and then Johnny tells Roland that he's pan.
That's it. That's
it.
We don't see it in his character. We don't see it in his past. Now, I'm not saying that you have to hook up with other genders to call yourself pansexual. It's just that David as a character is someone who we know has had numerous hookups before in his life.
I understand the criticism, but like, if someone were coming into my life right now, they would probably just think I'm gay and not know, because that's where I'm at right now. So I don't know. I mean, I get the criticism, but like at the same time, that part's relatable to me too. Like,
yeah, and I don't pretend to know the experience, and that's why I want to make it clear. And I totally get that. And maybe, and I do get the impression that David does prefer men over women, which is fine. But I think it could have been interesting because in season 5, Patrick's ex-fiance comes back, who is female. Yeah. What would it have been like if a former dalliance had come back into David's life, aside from like the Sebastian Rain character?
Yeah.
Like, would that have created the same amount of tension? I'm not sure it would. So I don't know.
I mean, I think that it could have given rise to a better narrative, in my opinion. Like, if one of David's ex was a woman and she came back into his life, it could have helped the writers produce this kind of story where Patrick ends up getting jealous and also worried, because in Patrick's mind, David is also attracted to someone that
someone started hammering outside my window. I'm so sorry, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, like Patrick gets worried and also jealous because David is also sexually attracted to someone that Patrick isn't, or he can't provide to David. Like, that could have offered a good narrative arc. Like, Patrick would have been worried that, David, you are sexually attracted to me right now, but what if down the line you started being attracted to a woman? Like, I can't do that.
So, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, seriously, they're hammering right there, 5 feet away. But anyway.
I can't really hear it, so it's all good.
Okay.
A little bit, not much.
Anyway, one thing I find interesting, though, is that... Okay.
Let the right one in, Stephanie.
Oh my God, why are you doing this right now? Anyway, I'm gonna die. This is terrible. Okay. Let me try to get my thoughts together. Okay, so anyway, David and Patrick being on opposite sides of the Kinsey scale. I mean, pansexuality, the Kinsey scale doesn't necessarily relate because it's a very binary, like, line. There's men and women. Like, it doesn't take into account other things, but it's still somewhat like of a point of reference. So you have David, who is a higher Kinsey scale number, which is more attracted to men. And then you have Patrick, who only got interested in men because of David. So, like, they're opposite ends of it, and yet they're both, like, in this non-monosexual space, which I think is interesting. So I appreciate that. I don't know. I'm not as offended, I guess. By the depiction.
Also,
Jack
Jamie,
and Yanto. Sorry.
Jamie, correct
what?
me if what?
I said
Jack
Jack and
and
Yanto.
Yeah, basically,
Oh,
Jack
yeah.
and Yanto, yes.
Yeah.
Jack, I think, calls himself omnisexual, which I don't even understand that one entirely, which is
I
interesting.
imagine it's just because aliens
Aliens,
don't
yeah.
have the
Aliens
human
exist.
genders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love
Also-
Jack and Yanto.
I know.
love them.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail the
Sorry.
conversation.
No,
But it was just Stephanie's explanation because that was how Yanto saw
Patrick
it too.
Yanto, yeah. It's true.
Also, Jamie,
that's
correct
good.
me if I'm wrong, but in what was it? In Shadowhunters with Malik, like, what was his name? Magnus's sexuality was brought up quite a few times, or not? Or was it just one instance of him being bisexual and that's it?
Well, his ex was female. His main ex was
Yeah.
female, and she came back a lot. But he also talked about past relationships, and there was like a mix. And it was definitely something that came up before because of that.
I think it did, yeah. And also in the Magicians, the bisexuality came up a lot, and that's what I wanted to see from Schitt's Creek. It was like, we are handling pansexuality in season 1, and after that, yeah, no.
I get it. I get the criticism. I just really appreciated it just because, like, even just saying it, like, having that word said on a TV show. I mean, I'm sure there's another show out there that said it, but this is the first time I've seen that word on a TV show. Like,
And nobody
I mean,
cared. Like, nobody
I
on
know.
the series cared. Like, that was,
I mean,
none of the characters cared.
in Sense 8, they are all pansexual, but they never say it on the show. It's only talked about offhanded. Like, the creators are like, yes, all the sensates are pan now, you know? But in the show itself, like, that word is never dropped, and they never really go into it. It just is.
Yeah.
And so it was really validating. Like,
Well, and Sense8 is very overtly sexual too,
yeah.
which doesn't happen really in Schitt's Creek much. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the kissing a little bit and the hand holding and that kind of stuff, but it's not
Laying in
like
bed together.
yeah, they're not like having sex actively in front of you, which happens in Sense8.
I know.
So,
I recommended Sense8. I recommended Sense8 last night to a coworker, and then I decided to watch the first episode. I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of sex in this. I just recommended this to a coworker. This is gonna be awkward.
And also
Sorry.
Sense8, the main sensates, they bring in everyone. Like, I
Yeah.
still remember I was worried how they were going to end Wolfgang's love triangle. And I was like, okay. I was
We're
like,
all
you
just
know what?
together now.
Yeah, just all together, no drama, just come right in.
all right, so let's we'll stop going on about the pansexuality, but let's focus on David and Patrick's relationship now, because I had really never had an OTP until them, and I even remember going into the chat when they first got together, our editor chat, and I was like, I can't stop thinking about David and Patrick, and like most of you had no idea what I was talking about. And then I can't remember who said it, but somebody's like, oh, you have an OTP. And I was like, is that what it is? You just can't stop thinking about them at all? Now,
Welcome to shipping life.
that being said, I don't think David and Patrick are really that good of a match. However, I just love them so much because I like literally can't stop thinking about them. And when it first happened, like their first kiss at the end of season 3, I was like, I can't stop thinking about them. Like, that scene was just so romantic, and it wasn't like sexual, it was legit romantic. Like, Patrick's like, I've been waiting for you to do that, and you're just like, ah, this is what I want all romance to be like. And so I don't know that. So I don't know if they're my OTP anymore, because I really love Quentin and Elliot from The Magicians. However, what do you think about their relationship?
Quentin and Elliot. Oh, Aaron, I feel sorry for you.
I know.
After what you did, how they handled the characters. Oh,
I mean, we're not talking about the magicians right now. We'll just that will
yeah.
just make me cry.
Also, I agree with you because when Patrick came into the scene, I wasn't expecting him to stay long. I was like, okay, this is cute, this is romantic, but I don't necessarily see him with David in the long run. But then he stuck around, and it kind of felt forced. I'm gonna be honest, because Eugene Levy, his name's Eugene Levy, right? The one who plays David.
No, that's
no,
Dan.
you can have the
Dan,
Yeah, Dan Levy. Yeah, Dan Levy is like, because Dan Levy said that this is going to be a happy show, this is going to be a positive show, and I was like, you know what? They're going to make Patrick stick around. So, yeah, it was weird. Like there were some instances where the relationship felt forced to me. Like the writers just don't want these two to break up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do the. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say my signature double negative. I don't disagree with that, because I do think it felt a little forced. I initially didn't like. I like Patrick's character. He's a foil to David, really. I mean, kind of opposite. And I like Noah Reid as an actor, but I didn't find Patrick really to be, what's the word? Meaty enough for David. Like he's very milquetoast in the beginning. Like he's just very like, I'm a white dude, I wear khakis, like, you know, whereas when you think of David, you think of him as very like, not necessarily over the top, but definitely like, he's the first person in his life. And so I agree that it did feel forced in the beginning, but the way that it was written, because I still don't think that Daniel Levy and Noah Reid have really great chemistry on screen. I still think that. But the way that it was written was so like, oh my gosh, I love this. And so that's what got me invested.
What got me was that David is very much like a one-night stand type of person. He's interested in everybody, and if he's interested in someone and they're interested back, you know, they're gonna have a one-night stand. And then in comes Patrick, who is this overtly romantic person who didn't even realize he liked men until he fell head over heels over David. And you can tell it was just a very quick like falling in love moment. Like he just fell in love, like basically at first sight, and he romances him, which I don't think David has ever had before. I don't think he's ever been like romanced and like, you know, wooed like that. So I feel like even though I agree with the criticism that like it was forced, I feel like it was something David needed. Like he needed that kind of wooing, and he needed that kind of romantic vibe that he's never had before. So I like that. It's a different direction than what he usually had.
Yeah, I think they both of them, like, on paper, like, they don't match. And I think the reason that they do so well together is because they're not who you'd expect them to end up with, but they're, like, they're balanced. Like, so you have Patrick to sort of, like, tone David down a bit, but then you have David that gets Patrick like out of his comfort zone a bit. So
awakened his
sexuality.
I don't know. I think David ended up changing Patrick a lot. Like Patrick kind of compromised a whole lot of stuff just to be with David. To me, it felt like that.
So did David, because David was not into long-term relationships really before this. He had never really said, I love you to anyone. He didn't really think about marriage. He wasn't the type of person who would be in that type of relationship. And then he was romanced into it. And like, maybe you don't consider that giving something up, but for people who are really into that more like casual dating, one night stand type of lifestyle, you know, they would consider that giving something up. I don't need that. Like,
my thing is that I think the biggest compromise that David did was staying in Schitt Creek, because like the whole family, like the whole point was that they wanted to get out. And I think you start to see, like, once David comes up with his business idea, that he's like sort of putting down more roots. But the fact that he was so willing, like, he was ready to move like that. And
they basically bought a little cottage in the countryside, like, which is not who David was at the start of this.
Because it looked like Kate Winslet from The Holiday, which not really. Like, I love The Holiday. No, it didn't, but I guess
David.
It's fluff you can watch at Christmas time. It's fine.
David was a big city party going, loud sweater. I mean, he kept the loud sweaters. That's going to remain forever. But you know what I mean? Like, flamboyantly, I mean, I guess is the word flamboyant, like, partier. And now he has a little country cottage with his husband. Like,
well, I think some of that could come with age too, because as I am aging, I am also, except that I dyed my hair pink last weekend, I am also toning myself down a little bit. Like, I mean, that just kind of comes with it. You can't really see it anymore, but it's fine. Like, I think that just like, I think it was a good combination of him coming to the small town, experiencing a different life, him getting a little bit older, him getting closer to his family, him actually getting a really, really close friend in Stevie. And also then you now have, exactly like you said, Angel, like this highly romanticized relationship, which could be just different enough for him to make it stick. And so, I mean, I do think it's realistic, obviously. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't love the show as much as I do if I didn't think it was realistic. And so, but I do think it's a multitude of things and not necessarily just Patrick that made him decide to stay. So, yeah. All right. You guys are all staring at me. So I want to talk.
I mean, I can't wait to get you adopt a kid because you know Patrick wants kids.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, imagine if they did a movie down the line and they have kids.
Oh, they're going to do a movie.
They have to do it.
They're going to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, this show is so beloved now by so many people. They had to end it. I think it was a smart move that they ended it when they did. But these characters are never going away.
Yeah.
Like,
and I really think, because there's a question on here about, do you want a season 7? Oh my God, Bruce, be quiet. The hammering stopped and now my cat is being annoying. Shh, I'm talking.
I cannot hear your cat at all.
Okay, well, he's annoying the shit out of me. Okay, anyway, sorry, just like so many noises around me. Anyway, there's a question about, do you want it to get a season 7? And I kind of mentioned this earlier. I don't necessarily want it to have another full season, but I would love a movie in like 5 or 10 years. Like, maybe 5, because I don't want to wait 10 years. I don't want to wait a decade. I'm getting old. 5 years. Let's do it then. To do kind of like the Veronica Mars thing. I think that's a good like roadmap for what they can do with this show to kind of show where everyone is later on. Shh, Bruce. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is like the most distracting webcast. Everything around me has decided to be really noisy during this. But anyway, yeah, that's the route I wanted to take, because I want to see David having kids, Alexis being successful in her new career, the Rosebud Motel franchise doing well. I want to see all this. I don't necessarily need a full season of it.
I mean, Downton Abbey did a film, and it ended up making more than $100 million at the box office. So
I didn't even know it did that well. Yeah. Let's do it.
I think I am really glad for shows like Schitt's Creek that end when they're still good and they don't drag stupid, pointless plot lines out just because they're getting ratings and blah blah blah. It's like, no, you end the show before it goes downhill. You end the show with like a definitive ending, and then it's like, but a definitive but still open ended, so you can come back later. Like everybody talks about like the Friends reunion, and I'm like, I don't care where they are now. Like, so, but like Schitt's Creek, I would want to see, because you can feel like, I guess it's because where where they ended Friends, I'm like, like,
well, okay.
Yeah.
So I just saw this on Facebook right before the webcast started, but apparently Nicole Kidman is a fan of Schitt's Creek, and she
Really?
put on Instagram that she wanted to be on Sunrise Bay with Moira. And I was like, yes, in 5 years,
it.
I would love to see a scene with Nicole Kidman and Moira
God.
Rose from Sunrise Bay. Like, yes,
Amazing.
please make that happen. So,
I mean, they'll
Oh
do
my
it because they ended this show at the peak of its popularity. It's not like it was like dimming or like going down. It was. I mean, it takes guts and conviction to end a series when it's so popular. So you know that they have a whole lot of story to tell. Still, they'll do something.
Yeah, they ended it when everyone's life started a new chapter. So like it wasn't like they ended it to wrap up every single person's story. They ended it when new stories were about to begin. So they can revisit it later. Like, because Friends, it was just like, okay, everything's wrapped up. She stayed. They're together.
yeah.
Bye.
I do want to sort of, this is tangentially related, but I wanted to bring up the whole Sunrise Bay thing with Moira, that I actually really liked that they introduced the idea of that it was like Moira asked for what she deserved and she got written off. And so she always thought that that was why, and it wasn't. And I really liked introducing that, because I know that women usually have a hard time demanding what they deserve out of their jobs, because they're always worried about stuff like that.
I absolutely loved like Moira's plot line, and especially when Alexis came in and like got on the fan forums and like dug up all the dirt.
She became the moderator of the forums. That was great.
I love that, but I love like Moira is like, she is definitely not a perfect. Oh my God, Bruce, sorry. Distractions, please
we
stop.
can't hear him. So if you're worried about us hearing him, it's fine.
He just nearly knocked my computer over. But anyway.
Oh, good. That's good. Good job, Bruce.
But like, she's definitely not a perfect person. She's got a lot of like, she likes her expensive lifestyle. She's a little bit, snobby, but at the same time,
snobby.
trying to be nice. But at the same time, like, her arc is about her like wanting to continue acting and then finally succeeding at getting what she wants. She wants to continue her career. And she gets that. And like, I don't know. I liked that arc, even for, I don't know how to explain it. A character that's not perfect still gets what they want, and I'm happy for them.
Well, and I agree with that. Sorry, I just want to say this really quick, because I agree with what you were saying, Jamie, because it's so weird in a scripted show like this to see such an over-the-top in control. Well, she's not really in control, but she's like, like a person who you feel like she knows what she wants, like that kind of character. I mean, she's a little flighty, but you feel like since she's so over the top that she knows what her life is. And like, it was weird for me to see her being in that kind of vulnerable enough position with Alexis to be like, I should ask what I deserve. And it's interesting that it took Alexis, her daughter, who she's not close with at all, to tell her go after it, So, and I can relate with that, because I'm not super close with my mom either. And so for me, that was a really telling breakthrough in their relationship.
Also, this is less serious, but I freaking loved the crows have eyes plot. Like, the whole thing was
The
just
crowing.
amazing. The crowing.
They shot a
really like
trailer.
the
They shot an
trailer.
actual trailer.
Like, the crows being released at the premiere, and like...
I love that she, like, she wasn't looking at it as a bad, like, the way everybody else was as a bad movie. She's like, this is my chance. And she, like, actually, like, made it decent.
There's that gif of her walking, like, I mean, it was a clip, but I keep running across the gif of her in the dress, and she's like, it's just so
She is
amazing.
serving a look.
Yeah, like, I guess this goes back to something you wrote one time, Erin, about how aging women, like, are portrayed. And, like, one of the themes, I guess, that keeps coming up for her is that her career is apparently ending. Like, she got written off her show, and now she's just in a B movie, but then she comes back and she doesn't see the B movie as a failure. She sees it as a gateway to opening it, and then it does. Like, it brings her career back. She gets her, gets to go back onto her show that she's long since been written off. Yeah, I don't know. That was a really good article you wrote that one time. So this kind of relates to it.
It's an issue that's near and dear to my heart, as I am also aging. It's interesting to see how older women get portrayed. And especially TV is much better than movies, and that was kind of the point of the article. So yeah,
because I mean, she's not like sunk. Like, her career is not over. She can still keep doing what she wants to do, even though she's older. And that's, I don't know, a positive message.
And Nicole Kidman wants to be your co-star, so come on.
Yes, please. Please.
All right. Jamie, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
I don't think so.
Okay. I know I cut you off earlier, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So let's talk about, I know we've talked a lot about David and Patrick, but really they're like the end game in this show. So I specifically want to talk about like the last couple of episodes leading up to their wedding, and then obviously the last episode, which was their wedding. So, because Fareed, you have on here on the document that some fans got really worked up about the massage, the happy ending, which was also the name of the show or the episode.
Yeah.
And I know you and I had some back and forth on the YouTube comments about that too. So I want to hear, before Fareed and I get into our opinions, I want to hear from Jamie and Angel. What did you think about the whole happy ending storyline?
It was a little bit weird.
Like, as an ace,
with some relationships.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, with some relationships, that's okay, and that's explicitly stated beforehand that it's okay, but this wasn't really stated that that's okay. So
I really.
But then they ended up being okay.
I mean, I think that's probably something that's gonna irk Patrick, obviously. But it was sort of like, you could tell that he was just like, oh, I can see how that sounded like that's what I was saying. But I was like, I still, like, it clearly wasn't okay with him. But at the same time, it's like, David didn't ask for it. So I think it's like, it's not like David asked for it. It's like that guy just did that and David thought it was, like, it's a misunderstanding that had the potential, like, I mean, like, as an ace, like, I don't see the point of those at all. And, like, I would be upset. But it's a context kind of thing. Like, so I don't know. Like, it did bother me, but I think it bothered me more that it was like, I mean, it's a comedy, so they're going to go for the humor, but I was like, the fact that it was like glossed over when it clearly bothered Patrick sort of bothered me.
I feel like also there's a problem because it was two men that are about to get married, and if this was a plot line in a heterosexual or even like two women being together, it would have been a big dramatic event. Like, oh my god, like he cheated or she cheated or whatever. But for some reason, I feel like because it was 2 men, it kind of played into the stereotype of like promiscuous gay men, even though I know they're technically not both gay. It's pansexual and bisexual, but like that was an issue, is that it kind of got glossed over, and I feel like it was because of that stereotype, and that kind of bothered me. But I don't know if that was intentional.
No, that's good. I mean, do you think it was unnecessary to the storyline, or do you think it really added anything?
It added nothing. Like they could have dropped that. I just don't understand what the purpose was, because it's like it wasn't funny to like.
And I mean, honestly, there was enough drama with the whole like everything going wrong with the wedding that they didn't need to put that in for extra drama. Like I really feel like they put it in just so they could name the episode Happy.
Probably.
All right, Fareed, let's go.
I mean, I was okay with it because I ended up because I kind of ended up listening to an answer that Dan Levy gave during an interview about how Patrick's and David's relationship is quite open and like it's quite very understanding and all of that. So in that context, kind of it made sense.
Yeah, not to cut you off at all, but if that was mentioned in an interview, but not in the context of the show, there's an issue with that. Like, because that's kind of like the pansexuality in Sense8, how we know they're pan because of interviews. And so now we know that David and Patrick are open because of an interview, but it's not explicitly stated on the show.
No, because Dan also said that in one of the episodes in season 6, both of them went to that other guy's house to have a threesome with him, if you guys remember.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Both of them went there. So it was something that's part of their relationship.
Okay. I forgot about that.
So part of this back and forth that Fareed and I had with another commenter on YouTube was because he and I had both seen this interview with Dan Levy, and it was basically I think it was with Entertainment Weekly, I want to say. They interviewed Noah Reed and Daniel Levy in tandem.
Noah Reed was clear. Noah Reed was like, that's the corrector. If I was in Patrick's shoes, I wouldn't have been fine with it. You could tell that Noah wasn't very into the entire situation. He didn't like it on a personal level.
Yeah.
Dan was okay with it.
I mean, so I'm kind of on the fence because I also think that it was like kind of unnecessary. But at the same time, when I hear about it in the whole context, the whole point of it was to show how much growth David and Patrick had in their relationship. Because in season 5, that would have been a big deal for Patrick. Because even when Ted kissed David back in season 5, like he gave him a cold shoulder for the whole night. And so it was to show that progression of where they were in the relationship and how strong of a character Patrick had become, because he could have really let it get to him. But once he realized that it was like a misunderstanding, then he was like, okay, I'm still not great with it, but I get it. And then when David brought it up in the vows, then you saw that Patrick was like, okay, I get it. Yeah. So I didn't really like it, but I kind of get why. Do I get why? I kind of get it.
Because that's why I'm glad that they ended up putting that threesome scene in this season, so that they can like point to that David and Patrick has like this kind of open-ish kind of relationship where they're okay with someone else coming into their life if both of them are with that person or something like that.
Well, and frankly, that's how relationships work. And that's why I try not to judge people who like get cheated on or whatever, because we have no idea like what kinds of conversations go on behind the scenes in relationships. Relationships are very complicated. They're very kind of messy. And sometimes couples do have those types of relationships where they're like, yeah, you can go stray with somebody else. I don't care. Maybe I want to hear about it. Maybe I don't want to hear about it. We don't know. It just happens. So it's hard.
And maybe it's like with one person only once. You can't repeat the same person. There's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's it kind of opens up a whole other bevy of questions where you're like, well, we don't really know as much as maybe we thought we did about their relationship. So
I have got to go find this conversation you've had with people. I'm so interested. I'm like pulling it up on my phone, like, what was this?
It wasn't heated or anything. It was just like that person hadn't seen the interview and we both had. So it was just kind of explaining the context a little bit. So, but
also to Stephanie's point, I do think that for the journal audience, I think it could have played into the stereotype of when it's queer men involved, promiscuous, like they are promiscuous, and that you can't, that men can't have non-open relationships.
I mean, that's definitely
I can see that playing it there.
Yeah, because you had something like, I mean, Queer as Folk, like that was like their whole thing. But also, especially now, it's an issue with, I mean, David is pan, so it's not quite the same thing. But there's that issue with bisexual men, like being more likely to like cheat, which is a
like
huge
tempted
stereotype. Yeah, which is a huge stereotype, like in the bi community, and that's why like so many bi characters are portrayed that way. That's why I really liked. I mean, this is with Shadowhunters, because like Magnus was bi and he was like super loyal. So I really love that they sort of reversed that with him. I just love Magnus.
And we have a comment in the chat too that said, I hate when the showrunners have to explain things they didn't convey clearly within the context of the show, which again goes back to what Angel was saying. So I mean, I totally get it. Which is why I say that I didn't really like the storyline. Like, I didn't think it was necessary, but upon further reflection after the interview, I'm like, okay, it's fine.
I mean, I think I
misunderstood that threesome scene because I was like,
caught up on the drama. I had to go read it. Continue.
I think my thing was just that I guess I don't know what I thought about that scene. I sort of thought that it was like, because David had been trying to tell Patrick that it was like, it's not just drinks with Jake. And then they went over there and I got the sense that they were like, Patrick was going to prove to David that they were just going over there for drinks. Like that's what I thought.
No, Patrick was into it. Patrick was willing to have that threesome. He was ready.
I guess as just somebody that wouldn't be into that, that's not the sense that I got. Like that. I mean,
Patrick was wearing that tiny sleeved shirt.
I know. But it's like, even so, like that's just not something that would have occurred to me because that's not where my brain would go. Like, that's not how I would react. So that's not the sense that I got from it. Like, you explain it to me and it makes sense. But like when I saw it the first time, that's not what I thought.
There's a divide here between the aces, me and you, Jamie, and then the people who are not ace, interpreting this in different ways. Yeah. Because I agree with you, Jamie, but we're both coming at it from the, we're not into that thing.
I mean, I personally have never gotten a happy ending, so I don't really know. But, sorry, was that TMI? I don't know. I think it happens less often than it does happen, but I could be wrong. I mean, maybe I'm going to the wrong massage places.
I've only gotten one massage ever, so, and it was not.
All right, okay. We'll stay in the same vein, but not talk about the happy ending anymore. What do you think about David's decision to stay in Schitt's Creek?
Love it, because I feel like if everyone would have left, it would have kind of undercut the point of the show. That like they don't have to be in big cities doing big fancy jobs to find happiness. And I mean, some people do, like Alexis needs that. And she went and she's pursuing it and being her own person and doing it. And then Moira needs that. She needs to be an actress. And in order to be an actress, you have to be in LA or New York, basically. Or I guess I mean Vancouver. But I mean, for the purposes of this. Johnny probably could have survived in Schitt's Creek too, because he could have run businesses from there, but he went to be with Moira. But like, if everyone would have just picked up and left, the entire moral of the story would have just been like cut down at the knees. So having him stay behind and being able to find happiness in this little town without all the glitz and glamour of a big city was kind of the point like of all of the show. So I loved it. And they got a little cottage.
Well, and I also love, like, Stevie brought up that, like, and I know this is true. I mean, I was sort of like this when I was younger, too, that it was like, oh, you have to be in New York. New York is where all the stuff happens. Like, that's where it is. And, like, not everybody's like that. I mean, I definitely have friends that would be like, you couldn't pay me to live in New York. And I'm like, well, you couldn't pay me to move back home. So it's a good thing I live here and you live there. But it was like, but Stevie brought up that it was like, David really didn't have any reason for wanting to be in New York other than it was New York. Like, yeah. I wanted to move here for specific reasons that ended up not happening, but what are you going to do? And now I have friends here and wouldn't want to leave my life. But like, Stevie was the one that pointed out that it's like, he wasn't happy. He obviously wasn't happy in New York. He didn't have friends. He didn't have like connections. He sort of just like existed, and like nobody was really like that loyal of a friend to him, because even the people he considered his friends still from New York that, by the way, like never got mentioned before, they didn't come to his wedding because there was a music festival. Like, so
yeah.
But as somebody that missed their cousin's wedding for a concert, I don't necessarily
well, I knew we would bring this back to boy bands at some point.
I'm sorry. They got married in a month. People have plans, okay? There is a reason why you set down and save the date in advance. Like, I was like, that's kind of, they were trying to make it be like, oh, they didn't care about him. And I'm like, well, they only had a month's notice. Like, they were going to like Norway? Like, I'm sure they had their tickets already for that. And it's not cheap to fly to Norway. Sorry.
I mean, I don't go to weddings anyway, even if it's like down the street.
Oh, I don't get invited.
I love the free food and open bars of weddings. Those are great.
Agreed.
I can't handle weddings. I just can't. Too many relatives I don't even know existed, so no.
I just love food and booze, man. Like, whatever. I don't know.
The only reason, like, this again might be too much information, but like, I used to be engaged to a dude back a long, really time ago. Obviously, I did not go through with that, which I thank my lucky stars every day.
Oh, so that's who is in the chat asking about you.
No. He and I do not talk anymore because that was really a lot. It was like 15 years ago. Yes, I am that old. Thank you. But like,
we're the same age. Stop saying that.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm only like 2 years behind y'all. Oh my god. Like, Fareed, I think you're the youngest one here right now.
I'll be turning 30 this October.
Yeah. The baby. Okay, so anyway, going back to the wedding thing. So like, back in this old life that I had, like, I had planned a wedding and stuff. Like, it wasn't a grand affair or anything like that, but it was like intense, like trying to book a venue, flowers, music, blah. And when I was doing that back then, it was, because that's what you do when you're 23 years old. You like you meet the guy, you plan a wedding, and you plan it like all the other weddings you've been to, which is like a dinner party and like a dance and whatever. I look at my life now and I'm like, okay, if I were to find someone and get married now, I would not have a wedding. What the hell? Like, I would invite my friends and family to like a dinner party with the booze and food, like you said, Angel, because that's like my thing. But I would like want to do a wedding like on a beach with fruity cocktails and no one else. because
I've never wanted to have like a wedding. Like the closest thing I had was in college. I was with the same guy for like 5 years, but like even then I was like, I don't really want to do that thing. But like I would just want like a party.
Yeah.
I have a specific color scheme in mind for me and the bridesmaid, but like other they said no, I've had this in mind since like forever ago, and obviously like my odds of getting married are small. But
all right. So speaking of bridesmaids, let's talk about the wedding. Because
I will say, as someone that grew up in a small town, that was a damn nice wedding. Like, because the weddings that I went to in my hometown did not look like that. They just didn't.
I went to a small town wedding once, which actually happened to be with my ex-fiance who is from a small town, and it was also not as nice as the one in Schitt's Creek.
Although I will say like that it was in the town hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, because weddings where I'm from, well, they were usually in like church, like they would be in a church, but the receptions were in the fire hall.
Yeah.
And there's actually a term where I'm from, and it's called a fire hall wedding because that's where you have the reception. And when I was in college, everybody was like, why? And I'm like, where else is there room to have it in a town of 1,200 people? We don't have hotels. We don't have like banquet halls. Like we had the fire station. That's where it was.
Like a potluck. It's a potluck. The reception generally. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Cool. That's a good idea.
my friend Sharon's wedding was catered. But yeah, no, literally, like, I can tell stories about my friend Sharon's wedding. But like, because
we
like,
don't need to name names here.
But
sorry.
no, like it was in the fire hall, but it was actually like in the truck bay. And we were warned that like if there was a fire, the alarm, like the doors were connected to the alarm, so if the alarms went off, the doors would go up, even if there was no truck in the bay. The alarms did not go off, which is good because it was January and that would have sucked.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah, a small town wedding, like that's what that would have been like.
Yeah. I've only been to like super fancy like city people weddings, but like I've been to I think like 3, and like the most recent one was here in Honolulu, like out on the beach, like in the bright hot sun. It was horrible, but I mean, free food and free booze. It was great. So I went. But like, yeah, I've never experienced like small town wedding life. That's
it's not super glamorous. We'll just say that.
Yep.
Maybe
church.
Can we just have food and booze? Like, let's skip the rest.
The best wedding I ever went to.
Just Postmate the food and booze to everyone. Everyone who's invited.
You guys are all coming to my wedding, my imaginary wedding that's not going to happen because I'm single. But we're just going to have food and booze.
Party.
Yeah, we're just going to have a party. Why do we need to get married to have this party? Let's just have a party.
We can have Jamie with her bridesmaids in a specific color, and then we can just do our fantasy weddings without the bride or the groom involved. Like just
exactly. Let's do that.
I think it's funny because it's like pretty much every wedding that I've been to, the focus was so much on making the wedding the nice part. And I'm like, the weddings that I've been to, it's the reception the fancy stuff. So the fact that they were like, oh, we have to have the wedding someplace nice and we have to have all these flowers and blah, blah, blah. It's like, what was the reception like then? Like, did they still have, because there was like, did they still have the food? I'm very curious. I was like, I'm very confused about like what from David's original plan actually survived.
Nothing.
Yeah. Did they even have food? Like, what was going on?
I would have liked to see the after party where they all got drunk. I would have liked to see a few scenes of that.
Yeah, Alexis and Stevie never went to bed. Show us that.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see that.
And also, was Patrick's mother even there?
Yeah, I
She
think
must
they were
have
both
been.
there.
Yeah.
I think
Even
they
the
were
mothers,
there.
though. Moira's Pope costume was amazing.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I only gave one spoiler to the editor's chat the night that happened, and I was like, "You guys are gonna die when you see Moira's outfit." So yes.
I mean, I know the important thing is the marriage certificate, but it's like, is she legally ordained to be a minister? Like, can she actually marry them, or was that just like?
That takes just a few minutes. Anyone can get ordained. It's so easy to get ordained. You can
But
go
they didn't
online right
mention
now.
that. She was just like, it's like, I can marry you. I do public speaking. It's like, that's not how that works. But okay.
I wonder
Maybe
how long
in
it takes.
Canada, I don't know.
And also the
Yeah.
way she was officiating it when she was close to crying and tearing up, and she was like, David.
Well, okay, so
David,
to be fair, I do think it might have been a callback to Princess Bride. And so that kind of makes it even more funny because you're like, okay, there's a reason that she dressed like this.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together.
Yeah. So I really do think that was a callback, which again, like I said, makes it even more funny. It's not just her randomly dressing up as like a pope or whatever. But it was so great. I mean,
pretty Moira, like, why not?
Well, yes. I mean, initially I didn't make the connection, and then when I made the connection, I was like, okay, that's so great. So what do we think
the party,
about
after party, I need the footage. I need the footage for the after party.
Yes. That should be like a special that they make for like the DVD.
It'll be
Do
a
they
long
still
time.
make DVDs? I don't know.
Like, no actors can get together right now to do that. So we're kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they could do a call like Parks and Rec did. Why don't they do a Skype call?
Yeah.
That's
Because
just wishful thinking. I'm sorry.
Which we will get to that. We will get to that in the recommendations section.
Oh my God, we haven't even gotten to the rest of our webcast.
I know. It's been 2 hours, y'all. We've been talking for 2 hours.
This is even better than the boy
let's hurry
band,
it up.
frankly. Okay. We'll so we love the wedding. We love the decisions. Whatever. Schitt's Creek is amazing. Last thoughts about Schitt's Creek before I move on.
I need a movie.
Yes.
That's it. I need a movie.
Super exact, like small town, spot on. Like, yeah, it's so many times small towns are portrayed like in Gilmore Girls. No, there's no like cute little downtown, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. I'm from, we don't have sidewalks. Like, that's the kind of town that I'm from, and that's exactly what Schitt's Creek is. I'm surprised they had a mayor. We didn't have a mayor. That town had like 15 people in it, and they had a mayor. What the crap?
For me, like, obviously this show was it started off just being like so funny and mindless, and it ended up not only having a message, which is also like very cliche, I think, for TV, but it really did show true relationships in messy ways and in true ways and authentic ways that I think no other scripted show has really ever done before, and was willing to take those risks, but yet also be that safe space that Daniel Levy said that he wanted the show to be forever. So I think that's my final thought. Angel?
I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Like, it's just a very heartwarming, positive show where no one is malicious. There is a complete lack of like malicious intent in the show, which is good. It's what I needed right now during all this.
Excellent.
I mean, the people in the boardroom were malicious.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate all of you.
It was a 99% safe space. Perfect quarantine content here. All in all, we all love it. Like, almost everyone on staff has watched it. and loves it. And we really do send a lot of gifts to each other. And it's amazing. I'm so glad that you all watched it and all love it just as much as I do. It's so great. All right. So we're going to quickly go on to some of the other things that we have. So we're going to real quick do some recommendations. I'll go first just for time. I started watching the show Upload on Amazon Prime. I only started watching it today, so I've only seen one episode. But it's pretty good. It stars Robbie Amell and basically is that kind of Black Mirror-esque storyline where this guy dies and then he has his consciousness uploaded into like an afterlife. So it just came out yesterday. Yeah. And it just came out yesterday. So I'll let you know how it is when I watch more episodes. But so far, it's off to a good start.
Very interesting. My two recommendations, I caught up on like an entire year's worth of Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I found that show is best when binged. I cannot keep up with Brooklyn Nine-Nine on a week-to-week basis. I get way too bored, like with the short little half-hour episodes. But if I'm sitting down and watching it for like 6 hours in a row, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is amazing. I don't know why there's a difference, but I would recommend, like, if you like Schitt's Creek, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a similar brand of comedy where there's not like a malicious intent behind it. It's a very like positive comedy. So, you know, I would recommend that. I also watched the Parks and Rec, which is also similar, more positive, except for poor Gary, who gets the butt of the jokes and kind of bullied. But anyway,
I mean,
poor Gary.
Winner. He's a winner. He knows he's a winner. Look at his wife. He's basically an alien.
He ends up winning in the end.
He knows that he's a winner, so that's why he takes all of the bullying, because it doesn't matter to him.
That's very true. Parks and Rec had their special, which was amazingly well done. And I wrote a big article about why I think it was well done, because I have been critical of shows that have been trying to tap into this whole pandemic, but I think that they nailed it. And I rambled for 1,000 words on it. So instead of doing that, I'm going to just say, I'm going to tweet the article. You can go read that article.
Can I talk 1,000 words about it? Yes. I also loved it. And I even said this in the chat that, like, I understand that these people are professional actors and this is what they do for a living, but I could not believe how easily everybody fell back into character. And it was just like, it was so great. I loved it.
I'm just happy that they brought Aziz Ansari back, because I was like, maybe, just maybe the network won't allow him back, because he still hasn't recovered in a sense. But
I'm sorry, but
you
you can't have Parks and Rec without Tom Haverford. Like, he's super not necessary, but yet also super necessary.
Yeah.
He had one of the most relatable lines in that entire episode where he's like, time is meaningless. Because I mean, I feel that. I have a job. I still have to be like, you know, at my computer from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day. But even for me, time has become meaningless. Days of the week have become meaningless. Like, I love
my
that.
job schedule changes, so I didn't even know what day of the week it was before everybody went into quarantine. So now it's like super bad. Because I mean, today is Saturday. I had to work. Like, so very weird for me. But my recommendation is yet another C drama, because of course it is. And it also has Zhao Zhan in it, because of course it does. He's not one of the main characters in this one, and he's actually not in it as much as I thought he would be. But it's still good. It's still good. It's called Battle Through the Heavens, or Fights Break Spear. Like, it's actually, like, if on the title card it says Battle Through the Heavens, but in the subtitles they translate it as Fights Break Spear, so it's both, I guess. But it's a wuxia, or wuxia, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's this sort of, it's this sort of same thing as the Untamed. It was like, oh, they have like mystical chi and they can do like special like martial arts moves and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically when the main character is a kid, his mother is accused of treason and is forced to commit suicide. Before she does, she gives him a ring, And unbeknownst to him, whenever he tries to like harness his chi as he grows older, it's getting absorbed into the ring because the ring is like another dimension. So when he touches it to his forehead, he gets transported into this dimension. And like his mother's teacher is trapped in there. And so like he teaches him like martial arts and like gives him back his chi and all that kind of stuff. And basically the show is about he wants to bring the people responsible for his mother's death because she was falsely accused of treason. And so it's like he's trying to bring justice to his mother, basically. I'm only about a third of the way through, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good so far. So it's on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Fareed, do you have a recommendation?
I mean,
Don't watch Hollywood.
On Netflix. Yeah, no, don't watch Hollywood. Watch the half of it on Netflix.
All right, sounds good.
The cast is very pretty. There's a whole lot of nakedness going on, but don't watch it.
It's a whole lot of nakedness.
All right, let's quick do our quarantine shout outs. These are positive things we've seen or random things we want to mention related to the coronavirus quarantine, which is yay, not really.
Yay.
So I had one. This would have been on last week's if we'd had one, but we didn't because it was actually last Saturday. But Caitlin Weaver, who is a Canadian ice dancer, hosted a giant live stream. It was like 3.5 or 4 hours long to raise money for the UN's COVID-19 relief fund. And she brought in like so many big name figure skaters like Stefan Lambiel and like Javier Fernandez. Like everybody like came in and did a chat. And it was a lot of like storytelling and everything, but they definitely like her ice dancing partner, whose last name I can't pronounce, Kohei. He cooked, and she basically gave him a challenge. She's like, make this with like whatever you have in your kitchen, and so like he did and everything. And then they brought in one of the choreographers for like a dance break, and so he came in, and it was some of the French skaters. And they did like dance moves, and then there was the thing with the American, mostly American ice dance teams, where they did a makeup challenge, and so the men had 1 minute to put makeup on their partners' faces, and it was like, Caitlin Hawayak and John Luke Baker, like he ended up like smearing her lipstick or whatever. But it was really funny was that the men would be like, okay, see, I wanted to give her like a smoky eye. So like it was really funny. So their goal was
there's a lot of technique that goes into a smoky eye, dudes. Come on.
So their goal was to raise $15,000 and they more than doubled that. So, and it was just a really fun, like I sat through the entire thing. It was just really great as a figure skating fan. And the whole live stream is up on the ISU's official YouTube, which is Skating ISU, if anybody is interested.
Excellent. Good job on raising over the goal. Excellent. I, again, just want to mention or give a shout out to the Parks and Recreation reunion, which just was so much fun. I loved it. It was only half an hour, but it was perfect. And I also cried when they sang 5,000 Candles in the Wind together because who wouldn't, obviously. And
I've had that song stuck in my head ever since the episode aired.
Yeah, and so not only was it just a fun reunion for fans, but they were also raising money to benefit Feeding America, which gives money or raises money for food banks. So
also, I have a question. Did they mention COVID-19 in the entire special?
They did not. No, they never mentioned it. They just mentioned that they were self-isolating. So they were very sensitive about it. And it was more about like what we're going through being separated than it was about the disease itself, which I thought was a really smart way to do that. Because right now, I feel like talking about the disease would be the wrong move for anyone, like how it was in that one episode of The Resident, like, because everything's changing so fast and it's so scary that nothing that you say about the actual disease is going to age well. But as far as what we're going through right now, all of us in our own homes, stuck there, like, this is life, and they nailed that. So no is the short answer.
I agree. Like, your article hit it on the head. Like, when Tom was saying that he had to cancel his vacation, and like Anne was self-isolating because she's a nurse. And I mean, they did a really good job, like you said, of kind of portraying what real life is like for most of us, which is, even when we're together, like even living in the same house, we're a little bit different, like we're in different rooms and stuff. And obviously vacations have been canceled. I know I've had to cancel a vacation, which is very sad. And yeah, it's just, so I completely agree with everything you said.
Paul Rudd said Coronas, right?
Oh, you're right. Coronas. During the Paul Rudd cold open, he's like,
I was like, what, Paul Rudd?
That was so great.
Mentioned, and he didn't know what was happening, and then he was told off camera, and he's like, what?
Bobby Newport is like,
I love him.
That was so great. I love seeing like some of the supporting characters too, like John Ralphio and You Heard and Joan Calamezzo and like all of those. That was so great. I loved it.
John Ralphio is so relatable, wanting people to call him.
I am really sad. Yeah.
All right. Who put the Disney face masks thing?
Oh yes, sorry, that's me.
Okay.
So the Disney face masks that I mentioned earlier, the ones that you can buy for $19.99, the packs of 4, Disney, Marvel, etc. They are actually raising money for a group called MedShare, which unfortunately MedShare's website went offline. I'm thinking it got like the hug of death from Disney linking to it, because I tried to access it for a full day and it just wouldn't load. But from what I gather on other sources, what MedShare does is usually in non-pandemic times, they loud car going by. Okay, anyway, sorry. Too many distractions. What MedShare usually does is they take the excess supplies from hospitals and redistribute them to developing countries. But now during the pandemic, hospitals worldwide need help. So they're working on basically allocating certain supplies to certain places, not just developing countries. But again, I can't get on their damn website. So this is all from Wikipedia. But Disney will match, or Disney will raise up to 1 million, I think. Yeah, I have it listed in my article, so we can fact check the dollar amount, but proceeds up to $1 million will go to MedShare. So go buy those masks.
That's amazing. I did not know that they were donating money. I thought it was just Disney being Disney.
Nope.
So that's really good. I actually was going to buy some of those princess masks because they're pretty cute. And now I will have to.
The first batch is sold out because first it was supposed to be shipped in June, and then it was being shipped in July. Now I don't even think there is a ship date. Like, I think it's just blank. So
just get them from the gate. Just get them from the gate.
Yeah,
we'll have to get in touch with some of our friends in Florida and California.
I'll be there on like the first day, so I'll let you know how it goes.
I'll give you money to get me a pack of the Star Wars one, or at least the Baby Yoda one, at least.
You got it. All right. So next week we are kind of mixing things up. So we are going to be back next week for a webcast. But we are going to be playing a game together. So Jamie,
yay!
Yeah, you want to tell us about Half Truth just briefly?
Yeah, so I actually I got this a few days ago in the mail. It comes out on Wednesday. But it's created by one of the creators is Ken Jennings, the Super Champ the Jeopardy Super Champ. So it's a trivia game where instead of just having to like come up with like one right answer, you're given a choice and you have to pick the right answer from the choices. It's a little more like involved than that, but it's called Half Truth. So they give you a category and then there's 6 possible answers. 3 of them are right and 3 of them are wrong. And you have to try and guess which one is right. And I played this with my friends last night over, not Skype, but over Skype. And it was, we had obviously had to modify the gameplay since I have the game and can't like give it, can't give people their tokens or whatever. But it was a lot of fun. And the categories are like super random. And, and it was like, the answers are like not what you'd expect. Like one of the categories was world record holders over 1 ton. And like one of the options was the world's heaviest tortoise. And one of the options was the world's heaviest Caesar salad. And tortoise was wrong and Caesar salad was right. So somewhere out there was like a 3-ton Caesar salad. You like my one friend Googled it and like showed us the pictures.
I was gonna say that like I love trivia, which I do. So I'm really looking forward to this, but like also what?
Yeah.
And also I'm probably gonna need to be a little intoxicated for this, because otherwise I'm just gonna be like, it does not compute.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously some of the categories are easier than others because there was one that was like TV shows where the theme song is sung by at least one of the actors, and I nailed that one. So, but like then some of them were like, the category was just dinosaurs, and I was like, oh, I'm in this one, and I was not because I'd never heard of any of them. And then it was funny because like the real ones were the ones you didn't expect, and then the fake ones that they gave were actually like Dinobots from Transformers, which I thought
this could be interesting.
It's a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So.
That will be
excellent.
fun.
I have to put a little shout out here because Becca, who is one of our editors, is currently watching Schitt's Creek. She just finished season 2, and she just sent a message in our editor chat, and she's like, "I'm crying over Schitt's Creek." I'm like, if you're crying over Schitt's Creek in season 2, girl, you just hang on, because really. Okay. Going back to Schitt's Creek, we have a real quick question here. Thank you, Jamie, for coming up with a question. You're way better than Tara, Yvonne, and I ever were. Which Schitt's Creek character would you want to be quarantined with? I have my answer, so I'll go real quick here. I would choose Stevie because she likes to be left alone when she needs her alone time, which is the same as me. She likes a drink, which also I do. And she's also really hot. So, if we need some makeout times, she's there. Cool. Let's go on. Who's next?
My first thought was also Stevie, but I think that after weeks and months, maybe the sarcasm might get to me. So I might choose someone who's more like positive. I love her, but I don't think I could be stuck in the same house as her for that long. I would probably go with Twyla because she's just very happy and upbeat. And I don't think, there would be all positive vibes, I think, in the...
And she has a whole lot of money. You can order anything you want.
We can order Bite Squad every day.
Very, very
quarantining is funny.
My first thought is probably Patrick. Like, I see a lot of myself in him, so I think we would get along well. That's my thought.
I mean, Patrick, I want to be serenaded. I want to be made to feel important. I want someone else to do my work. I want someone else to do the grocery runs. Like, I want someone else to
These are all very good points. that I had not considered.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Like,
very short term, like let's drink together. Woo.
I want someone to
After,
prepare the breakfast before I wake up. Like,
Twyla would probably do that too, you see. Or
Yeah.
she works in a diner, so.
yeah, Patrick.
She owns
yeah.
the diner, so she would definitely like.
Oh, that's true. We could quarantine in the diner. Where would we sleep? I just want food. That's how I really enjoy food. I'm like, wedding? No, food. And now it's like quarantine, food.
All right, guys. Like I said, you brought up very good points. I would quarantine with all of the above. Not together, obviously, because that is not good
Oh
social
my God.
distancing. Okay, so we have gone really over, but you know what? It's fine because Schitt's Creek is amazing. All of us, again, very highly recommend it to anyone who has not watched it. And if you've been watching it for 2 hours and 24 minutes and don't know what we're talking about, then I don't know why you're still here. So we'll just watch it. And join us next week, obviously, for our Half Truth game night, whatever. So I think we're going to shut it down now. I'm Erin here along with Admin Angel, Jamie, and Fareed. Thank you again for joining us for Feelings with the Geekiary Quarantined Schitt's Creek edition. Remember, we are a free webcast run off of donations from viewers like you. Thanks for contributing and helping our host site, the Geekiary, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.